Amazing moment revealed, Billionaire CEO's life-changing encounter with a single mom at graduation. David stared out from the stage like a ghost, a billionaire with a glossy veneer. Cameras flashed, capturing the image of the stern-faced CEO at the graduation ceremony for Lincoln High. He'd much rather be sealed in his office, counting numbers, pushing deals. But here he was, shackled to a podium for a local photo op sponsored by his company. As the crowd buzzed with energy, he felt entirely out of place, a lion among sheep. Little did he know that this unremarkable event would unravel the threads of his meticulously crafted life. In the stands, Sarah, a devoted single mother, beamed with pride. Her son Jake stood hunched but eager, his heart racing and mind spinning. He was just moments away from receiving his diploma, a triumph he battled against learning disabilities to achieve. Sarah's hands shook lightly as she whispered encouragements to him. She poured everything she had into raising him, working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. The happiness radiating from them felt like a powerful jolt, one David desperately craved in his own sterile world. Jake stepped to the microphone, his nerves palpable but determination stronger. Today marks not just my graduation, but the hard work of my mother, the support of my teachers, and the strength of our community, he began. Each word hung in the air, charged with sincerity. It echoed through David's fortress of solitude, risking cracks in his impassive armor. The moments of his own struggle lanced his heart, a childhood lost to neglect, connections traded for status. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes as her son spoke of persevering through trials, their shared journey evoking a fierce hope. When I thought I couldn't move forward, it was you, my mom, who believed in me. The crowd erupted in applause, but David felt the gut punch of truth in Jake's voice. This was real life, not stock prices or quarterly reports. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. After the ceremony, the crowd began to disperse. Sarah approached David, gratitude shining through her eyes. "Thank you for giving my son this chance," she said, her voice steady yet warm. David, still absorbing the weight of the day, nodded. He didn't know how to respond. The authenticity of her appreciation nearly unsettled him. As they spoke, life poured from Sarah. She shared tales of sacrifice, determination, and community support that gripped him like a vice. This was a life built on grit, unlike his taloned grasp on wealth. The loneliness in David's chest sharpened as he began to see what mattered: the laughter shared over microwave dinners, the way a mother would fight like a tiger for her child's future. But could he change? Could he step down from his pedestal and truly connect with this world? As Sarah's voice resonated in his mind, he faced a question that would haunt him. Was he destined to remain trapped in his gilded cage, or could he find the courage to embrace a richer life, grounded in the very community he once overlooked? David stood at a precipice, the thrilling unknown beckoning him forward as Sarah's heartfelt words flickered like a flame in his heart. David took a deep breath, the weight of Sarah's gratitude still lingering in the air. It felt different from the hollow applause he often received. There was a warmth there, like sunlight breaking through clouds. He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw not just the single mother but a beacon of strength. As she continued talking about Jake's future plans, her passion ignited something in him. "He wants to study engineering," she said with a spark in her eye. "He's got so many dreams, and I want to help him reach them." David felt an unfamiliar ache in his chest. Memories of his own dreams, once vivid but now faded into the background of meetings and deadlines, surfaced. He remembered the boy he used to be, full of ambition and hope. Somewhere along the path to becoming a billionaire, he had lost sight of that innocent purpose. "Is he going to college?" David asked, surprising himself with his concern. Yes. The excitement in her voice was infectious. He's already been accepted to a few, but I fear it'll be a stretch for us financially. The prospect of her struggle pulled at his heartstrings. Could he do something? Would he even dare? In a moment of reckless bravery, he met her gaze. Maybe I could help, he offered. Sarah paused, her brow furrowing in confusion. Help? I not like a charity just, I don't know, maybe a scholarship or something. The slight tremor in her voice betrayed her disbelief. You don't even know us, she said softly, and David could see the conflict in her eyes. Exactly, he replied, the words tumbling out because he felt this tremendous leap of faith was needed. And that's why I should know you. I want to understand life beyond the boardroom. The air hung thick with possibility. Sarah searched his face for honesty, and though doubt danced behind her eyes, she seemed captivated by the sincerity in his. I don't know what to say. Say yes, he urged. Let us create something together. I want to invest in Jake's future. Her expression transformed, beauty blooming across her face, a mix of surprise and vulnerability. You really mean that? I do, he insisted, feeling exhilarated yet terrified. This felt like a step toward the life he had overlooked, yet there remained a gnawing question in his mind: was he equipped to cross this bridge? Amid the cacophony of the crowd dispersing, their moment thrummed with significance. David's heart raced as he took a chance, a leap into the unknown that mirrored a new direction for his life. Then let us meet next week, Sarah said, her voice steady again, courage palpable. We can discuss what steps to take. As she walked away to find Jake, David stood rooted to the spot. This felt fresh yet terrifying, a connection deeper than just financial transactions. But as the noise of the graduation faded and the sun began to set, he couldn't shake the shadow of fear creeping in. Was he merely making a fleeting gesture, or genuinely opening himself up to the possibility of change? He glanced back at the crowd, where laughter and celebration filled the air. A poignant thought struck him: could he turn from the past's grip and embrace the family-style warmth depicted so vibrantly before him? In that moment of reflection, he heard a soft voice, a gentle reminder of who he wanted to be. The future starts now, he whispered to himself. Still lost in thought, he never saw the young girl running towards him, her backpack bouncing with each hurried step. Excuse me, sir. She shouted, breathless but determined. Did you really mean what you said about helping Jake? Because my sister needs help too. David's eyes widened, the world feeling suddenly expansive and filled with unexpected possibilities. As he smiled at the eager girl, he heard the echo of his own hopes amidst the tender requests for help. Would he be brave enough to meet this new challenge head-on? David knelt down to meet the girl's wide, hopeful eyes. The sunlight caught the strands of her hair, framing her face like an angelic halo. "What's your name?" he asked, trying to steady his pulse racing from the unexpected turn of events. "Olivia," she exclaimed, her excitement palpable. "My sister, Lily, she wants to be a doctor." But her voice wavered, suddenly heavy with concern. "We don't have enough money. She's so smart, but I don't know how to help her." He felt a pang in his heart. Her words tugged at a part of him that had been dormant for too long. "How old is Lily?" David asked, genuinely intrigued. "She's 16, and she studies all the time. She wants to help people," Olivia said, her eyes brightening again. "But it's really hard. Mom works 2 jobs, and I don't think she can think about college for Lily." David straightened up and shook his head, fighting back thoughts of his own privileged upbringing. "That's tough, Olivia," he said softly. "But you believe in her, right?" "Of course. She's the best." Her unwavering faith brought a smile to his face. He had been overshadowed by his own lofty aims for so long, just listening to this little girl made him reconsider what success truly meant. "Maybe I could help, too," he found himself saying, looking around to see if Sarah was still nearby. The idea danced in his mind, forging connections he hadn't anticipated. I could help with scholarships for both Jake and Lily. Really? Olivia's eyes widened, full of wonder. Really? But I need to know more about both of you. I need your stories. When had he last been this deeply touched by someone's plight? David had spent years advancing his career, focusing on numbers, profits, and growth strategies. Yet here, in a crowded field filled with joyful celebration, he found a new thrill surging through him, a sense of purpose he had lost. "Let us meet next week, then," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I want to hear all about both of your dreams." She nodded vigorously, jumping up and down. Thank you, thank you." Just then, Sarah returned, her expression shifting as she noticed Olivia tugging at David's sleeve, spilling out her plea about her sister. It felt like fate intervening. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, crossing her arms protectively. David turned to her, still feeling the warm bloom of connection lit by Olivia's spirit. "I think I'm going to help both Jake and Lily," he said, excitement bubbling in him. "Wait, what?" Sarah blinked, a mix of disbelief and hope surfacing in her eyes. "It feels right, Sarah. Your courage, Olivia's spirit, this is something I want to be a part of." His heart beat stronger now, his decision echoing back to the moments they shared only moments earlier, yet as the words spilled out of him, doubt flickered through his mind like a sudden chill. Was he ready for this? The fact that this was more than finances, that it would involve investing in lives, frightened him. At that moment, laughter erupted from the crowd, and the vibrant sounds of celebration brushed against his thoughts. The shadows of fear lingered close by, but determination washed over him, inviting the warmth of hope. "Okay, if you're serious, we need to talk strategy," Sarah said, her brows knitting together in contemplation. David nodded. "I want to make sure we do this right. We need a plan." But before they could delve deeper, the buzz of excitement around them faded into the background, replaced by the solemn reality that the path ahead was uncertain. David felt an electrifying pull from both Sarah and Olivia. This was no longer just about financial aid, it was about connection, hope, and the courage to believe in something greater. "Are you sure about this?" Sarah inquired, her voice softening as she studied him. "I want to be sure," he replied, looking each of them in the eye. "But I also need you both to be by my side." Just then, a familiar anxious flutter made itself known in his stomach. What awaited him on this path of change? Would the outcome be as transformative as he hoped? As David considered what lay ahead, he felt the weight of possibility and awakening calling to him in the distance, whispering that this was just the beginning. Little did he know how this journey would reshape him in ways he never imagined. What if the fulfillment of their dreams also nudged him closer to rediscovering his own? The days leading up to their first meeting buzzed with anticipation. David spent each passing moment lost in thought, imagining the stories that would spill from Olivia and her sister. He found himself wondering about Lily's dreams, the sacrifices their family had made, and how he could play a part in not just funding their education, but igniting their aspirations. On the day of their meeting, David arrived early. He perched at a small cafe table, the aroma of fresh coffee swirling around him, mingling with the nervous energy that danced just beneath his surface. His heart raced with excitement and uncertainty alike. What if his efforts fell short? What if he couldn't fulfill the promises buzzing in his mind? He scanned the bustling street, waiting for Olivia and Lily. What would they be like? He pictured a strong young woman, filled with determination, perhaps carrying a thick folder of grades and dreams. He knew he couldn't merely throw money at their problems, he needed to understand their hopes and fears, the very essence of who they were. Moments later, Olivia bounced through the door, dragging her older sister along. David's breath caught when he met Lily's soft gaze. She looked unsure but inquisitive, her dark hair framing her face, hinting at the resilience that lay within her. Just behind her, Olivia reached for her sister's hand, squeezing it tight. "There they are," David called, standing up and waving them over with a welcoming smile. He wanted to ease their entry into this new world, to make them feel seen and heard. Lily gave a hesitant smile, settling into her chair across from David, while Olivia immediately started chattering about her favorite subjects in school. Their laughter and chatter filled the air, a bright contrast to the seriousness of their situation. "Tell me about you, Lily," David prompted, leaning forward, his interest genuine. Lily paused, her brow furrowed as she chose her words with care. I want to help people. I've seen my mom work so hard to make ends meet, and I wish I could ease her burden one day," she said, determination lifting her chin. David felt a wave of emotion wash over him. This was more than just ambition, it was a natural instinct coming from a place of love. In that moment, he realized this was not just about money, it was a chance to hand oxygen to dreams that were struggling to breathe. "What are the steps you're taking to get there?" he asked, trying to draw out her ambitions. "I study hard," but she hesitated, glancing at Olivia, whose focus shifted to her sister's hands nervously twisting in her lap. "We just don't have the money for college. And sometimes I feel like I'm not enough." David's heart ached. Too familiar was that feeling of inadequacy, a notion he had battled throughout his own journey. He leaned in even closer, a fire building in his gut. "You are enough, Lily. Your passion is powerful. And I want to help you get to where you want to go." The three of them shared a moment of breathless silence. Olivia's eyes sparkled with hope, glancing back and forth between David and her sister. "But what if it's not just me?" Lily spoke, a hint of vulnerability creeping into her voice. "What if I can't handle the pressure? What if I fail?" David admired her candor, recognizing how deeply this burden weighed on her. It reminded him of his own fears. But in that realization also lay a spark of emboldenment. "Imagine the joy if you succeed. Failing is part of the journey," David said, his voice steady. "You can always rise again, and that's where real strength is found." As their conversation continued, David found himself overflowing with ideas: mentorship programs, advocacy, potential internships. He began mapping out a plan in his mind, all while feeling invigorated by the sisters' determination, but beneath that exhilaration remained a nagging voice: could he truly bring change, or was he setting them up for disappointment? He needed to muster his fullest commitment, not just for their sake but for his own healing journey too, yet, before he could voice his intentions. A phone buzzed in his pocket, interrupting the moment and pulling him back to reality. As he glanced at the screen, his throat tightened. It was a call from his company, and he could feel the weight of the world pressing on him. What if his commitments as a CEO conflicted with this new promise he felt to these sisters? His heart raced again, but this time from fear. How could he juggle both? And what sacrifices would he need to make to keep his word? As he looked back at Lily, her hopeful gaze urging him forward, he realized that sometimes life offered a path you couldn't foresee. Little did he know how entwined their lives would soon become. Would he find the courage to choose this unexpected journey? Lily's expression shifted slightly as David's phone buzzed again, louder this time, demanding his attention. He couldn't ignore it. The call would be quick, but he felt the anxiety thrumming in the pit of his stomach. He reluctantly excused himself, standing to step aside. "Just a moment," he said, trying to mask the urgency in his voice as he made his way to the cafe's entrance. Outside, the air was cool, a refreshing contrast to the warmth inside. As he answered, he could hear the crackling voice of his assistant on the other end, filled with the necessary, but often mundane, details of the day ahead. "David, we have a board meeting at noon. There's an issue with the project funding, and they need your input. Can you be here in an hour?" He felt a tightness in his chest. How could he pull himself from this newfound connection? The world he was stepping away from felt so superficial now, so far removed from the hopes burgeoning within these two young women. "Make it 2 hours," he interrupted, surprised at his own boldness. "I have another meeting." The assistant hesitated but eventually agreed. He hung up, heart racing. The decision to delay was one he knew could have repercussions, but right now, it felt right. Returning inside, he found the sisters still engaged in spirited conversation. Olivia was animatedly discussing a book she loved while Lily listened with a soft smile. The tension from his earlier call seemed to evaporate as he settled back into his seat. They were already diving deep into dreams, and all he wanted was to be part of that journey. "I'm back," he announced, easing into the moment again. The two turned their full attention towards him. He noticed the way their eyes illuminated with curiosity, as if waiting for more than just idle talk. They wanted direction, hope, and reassurance. "How about we brainstorm a way to turn your dreams into reality?" he suggested, excitement bubbling in his chest. Lily's brows lifted, her insecurities momentarily washed away by the possibility. "You really mean it?" "Absolutely," David affirmed. "I can help you seek out scholarships, internships, anything you need. But I want to hear more about your interests. What do you love? What inspires you?" Lily hesitated, a flicker of determination crossing her face. "I love biology. I dream of becoming a doctor." "Then let us make that happen," he responded without a second thought. "But it will take commitment from all of us. Are you ready for that?" With each word exchanged, David felt the burdens of his own responsibilities getting lighter. They weren't just plans on paper, they were living, breathing aspirations that could blossom into something beautiful. "Let us set some goals," David continued, "like where you see yourself in a year, and how we can break that down into smaller steps." Lily's eyes sparkled now as she began to speak. "I want to volunteer at the local clinic. They help the underserved communities," she said, her hands animatedly illustrating the community she wanted to help. "That's a fantastic start," David said, feeling the energy in the room shift as they delved into specific aspirations and actions. Hours flew by as they exchanged stories, fears, and hopes, threading their visions into a tapestry of shared possibilities. David watched both sisters bubble with enthusiasm, and for the first time in a long time, he felt anchored in something bigger than himself. As they closed in on their final ideas, David's phone buzzed insistently once more, breaking the spell of their creativity. This time, it was a text, and the urgency in its message was unmistakable. A crisis back at the office needed his immediate attention. His heart sank. A wave of frustration washed over him, battling against the warmth from the moment spent with Lily and Olivia. "Everything okay?" Olivia's voice pierced through his thoughts, concern etched on her light features. It's a bit complicated. I might need to." He trailed off, gauging the impact of his next words. What would it mean for them if he stepped away now? Lily looked in David's eyes, her eagerness now fading into uncertainty. "What about our plans?" He felt a tightness in his throat. He hadn't just promised them help, he had promised himself the opportunity to grow through this experience. What if he turned back now? What would happen to the dreams they had just begun to weave together? "Just give me a moment, okay?" David muttered, stepping out once more, knowing he had to resolve this soon. But as he stared at his phone, the question echoed louder within him: would he prioritizing dreams he wanted to nurture, or would he fall back into the old rhythms of his life? With a deep breath, he realized that sometimes the hardest choices were those that led to the most incredible journeys. What would he choose? And would these sisters still believe in his promises if he let them down now? David stood outside the cafe, the cool air prickling his skin as he clutched his phone. The stark contrast between the warmth of the conversation inside and the urgency of the text weighed heavily on his mind. Every ringing notification felt like a reminder of his responsibilities, a world filled with spreadsheets, meetings, and decisions that felt so necessary yet so hollow compared to the spark ignited within those sisters. That he took a deep breath, fighting the urge to rush back in, but uncertainty gnawed at him. Was he truly willing to risk what had just begun? The opportunity to help Lily to see her dreams blossom was intoxicating. It dashed against everything he had structured his life around, but why should he cling to a sterile existence when there was so much potential waiting on the other side of that cafe door? With a swift movement, David typed a quick message in response to the office text. "I'm on my way, but it can wait. I have an important meeting here." He hit send, hoping it wouldn't prompt a series of questions. He returned inside, where the sound of laughter and vibrant conversation wrapped around him like a warm blanket. "Sorry about that," he said, actively shaking off the weight of his distraction. "So, where were we with your clinic idea?" Lily's face lit up again, her worries seemingly forgotten. "I was saying that they offer free health services. It's a chance for me to learn and give back at the same time." The determination in her voice was stronger now, like a steady flame flickering excitedly. "That's incredible," he replied, leaning closer. "What else do you think you would need to get started?" Olivia chimed in, her eyes sparkling. "You could start by shadowing a doctor there. You need the experience and they might even have workshops." David felt the swell of pride wash over him. After just one day, they were already building together, stepping out of their shells. Each small action was a stitch in the larger fabric of their shared journey. As they brainstormed, the conversation flowed effortlessly, difficult concepts broken down, each idea met with enthusiasm. David encouraged them, guiding the discussion with carefully placed questions, and for a moment, the outside world, the pressures and crises faded into nothingness, but then, his phone buzzed again, more persistent this time, vibrating against the wooden table. A wave of frustration surged through him. How could he focus when that noise was a tangible reminder of all the responsibilities waiting for him? "Is everything all right?" Lily asked, her brow knitting together in concern again. "I just need to handle a couple of things," he stammered, unsure of how much to share. Would it feel like he was betraying their newfound connection? "It's okay, David," Olivia said gently. "We understand. Just know that we're excited about the plans, and we'll be here when you're ready to talk again." It was that understanding that struck him most. They were trusting him, and in that moment, he realized how precious what they were building truly was. But could he keep coming back to it? If he kept stepping away, would they still want him involved? As his heart raced, David stared down at the screen, at the demands of his job that felt so far removed from this vibrant energy. "Maybe I can take on the board meeting remotely," he said slowly, a spark of rebellion igniting within him. "Really?" Lily's face turned bright with hope. "Why not? We can keep this momentum going." With a mix of excitement and fear tiptoeing through him, David glanced at Olivia and Lily, both eager and ready. He felt alive, ready to leap into the unknown. "All right, let's do this together," he said with newfound determination. But just then, the door swung open and a figure stepped in, someone from his past, bearing an expression that sent shivers down David's spine. The air crackled with tension as he recognized their intent. What awaited him now? Would the past come crashing into their bright future? David's heartbeat crescendoed, a tribal drum roaring in his ears as he locked eyes with the intruder. The cafe seemed to hold its breath, mugs frozen mid-air, laughter dying as whispers filled the space like a storm. Time warped, everything around him faded into distant echoes. Jake, David breathed, the name surfacing from the depths of his memory like a long-buried relic. They hadn't spoken in years, but some relationships could bend time, no matter how much distance lay between. Jake was everything David had once aspired to be: successful, wealthy, influential. But he also embodied everything David had wanted to escape. "David," Jake said coolly, a smirk spreading across his face, an unsettling mixture of bravado and mockery. "Fancy bumping into you here." Lily and Olivia exchanged worried glances, sensing the sudden shift in energy. David wanted to reassure them, to smile and pretend everything was fine. But the knot forming in his stomach said otherwise. "What are you doing here?" David managed to ask, keeping his voice even, though his mind raced. He didn't want this encounter to pull him back into the past, dragging his newfound hope down with it. Jake tilted his head, like a predator eyeing a cornered prey. "I'm here for a meeting. Business, you know." His eyes slid across the cafe, absorbing the vibrant atmosphere with a sneer. "Looks like you found yourself a new little project, huh?" "Something like that," David replied, the words slipping out through clenched teeth. The real project had been his own life, a life he was trying to reclaim from the grip of corporate chains. "They look like they're having fun," Jake said, loud enough for the sisters to hear. "You do know you can't play doctor, right? You need to stick to your numbers and meetings." The laughter from the cafe felt sharp, each giggle a reminder of the enjoyment he had far too long denied himself. "I think you should leave," David said, finding a reserve of strength he didn't know he had. The cafe was theirs, with scents of coffee and camaraderie filling the air, and he wasn't going to let Jake spoil it. Jake raised an eyebrow, mock surprise splashed across his face. "Oh, is that how it is now? Tell me, how much do you really think you can change? You're still that same old David in a dead-end job, remember?" The vibrant glow of possibilities faded momentarily, just enough to bite at the edges of David's confidence. He felt the sisters' eyes flicker between them, uncertain, asking him without words how he'd respond. "I'm not the same," David said, finding the courage to meet Jake's gaze. "I'm done playing by someone else's rules." There was a flicker of something admiration in Jake's eyes before the mask of indifference settled back into place. "Good luck with your little dream. But remember, when reality hits, and it will, you'll realize that it's just a fantasy." David forced a smile, but it felt fragile, threatening to shatter. He would show them. He would show Jake. As Jake turned to leave, the tension shifted, ebbing under the warmth of renewed purpose more potent than the cold bile of past regrets. David's heart calmed, finding steadiness with every beat. He focused on the sisters, Olivia's comforting presence and Lily's hopeful gaze piercing through the remnants of self-doubt. "I'm sorry about that," David said, his voice shaking slightly but holding firm. "I didn't mean to." Lily reached out, her hand covering his. "You don't have to apologize for him. He doesn't define you, David." "Yeah," Olivia chimed in, her warmth unwavering. "You're building something real. Don't let anyone take that away from you." Heat crept into David's cheeks, an ember of gratitude igniting within him, pushing away the remnants of insecurity. "Let us get back to your clinic," he said, pushing back the lingering shadows. "We have exciting plans to lay out." But just as the atmosphere began to lift, the door swung open again, revealing a woman whose expression mirrored David's fears. As their eyes met, he felt a jolt, unsettling yet familiar, as if fate had chosen this moment to strike again. Who was she? And what repercussions from his past were still lurking in the shadows? The moment hung thick in the air, charged with unspoken histories and unresolved emotions. David's heart dropped a little, and he felt his pulse quicken again. This woman, with her intense gaze, was not just a reminder of the past, she was a chapter he thought he had closed. "Emily," he whispered, recognition crashing over him like a tidal wave. Her name felt heavy, laden with memories both sweet and bitter. They had shared dreams back in college, bright and bold, promising each other a future carved from their ambitions. But life had a way of reshaping paths, leaving remnants of what could have been scattered like autumn leaves. She tilted her head, her surprise morphing into something deeper, something poignant. "David," she replied, the warmth in her voice infiltrating the chill of the unease. "I didn't expect to see you here." "What a coincidence," Jake muttered under his breath as he edged past, clearly amused at the twist unfolding. Emily's presence only added fuel to the fire he had ignited. "Just business," David managed, his voice firmer now as he turned his attention back to Emily. "I'm working on something, trying to make it real." Her eyes softened as she studied him. "You always wanted to change the world, didn't you?" There was a familiarity in her tone, a gentle reminder of shared passion from simpler times. "Thought it was time to start," he replied, determination threading through his words. But what brings you to this place? Last I heard, you were still in that office. A vein of anxiety tightened in his chest. He wanted to escape the burden of his past, but there it was, standing before him, vivid and unyielding. I'm trying to break free, he admitted, vulnerability creeping into his voice. I want to do something that matters. Emily nodded, her expression tinged with something like sympathy. That's brave. You know, I've been thinking of taking some risks myself. Sometimes the hardest journey is the one we take to find ourselves. The sisters watched silently, sensing the depth of this encounter. David felt them behind him, supportive yet distant, captivated by the electricity in the air. I didn't know you were back in town, he said. How have you been? For a moment, she hesitated, her gaze flickering with uncertainty. I've had my share of challenges, new jobs, motherhood. There was a slight pause, the weight of her words heavy with stories left untold. But I'm figuring it out. Mom? Came a voice from outside, a small girl peeking through the door, her face a mirror of Emily's. David felt heat rise to his cheeks. Emily was a mom. The realization crashed into him, expanding the world of possibilities he never considered. Suddenly, he could see the depth of her journey, the trials and triumphs of balancing ambition with family. He leaned slightly towards her. She's beautiful. Her name is Mia, Emily said, pride lighting up her features. She's my world. A smile broke through David's uncertainties. You must be doing a great job, knowing how driven you are, he said softly. Thanks, Emily replied, some of the tension relaxing. But the moment was fleeting as the longing for what could have been lingered like a fading echo. Realizing how much time had passed, Lily's voice broke the spell. Maybe we should get back to the plans. She looked between David and Emily, her concern evident. Right, David said reluctantly, still entrapped in the gravity of the moment. But just as he was about to step away, Emily's hand reached out, brushing against his arm. David, wait. Her tone changed, a seriousness cutting through the light. Don't forget the people who mattered when you reached the top. Not everyone carries the same weight. David met her gaze, understanding the weight of her words more than he could express. It was a lifeline thrown into the waves of doubt and ambition. I won tea, he promised softly, but a new thought stirred within him. How would he juggle the past with the emerging future? As they parted, a final glance exchanged between them held a depth of understanding that both warmed and terrified him. A shadow from his past had resurfaced, and with it, a question loomed large: could he really forge ahead while remembering those who had shaped his journey? He turned to the sisters, who were now watching him with renewed curiosity. What fresh challenges lay ahead as he navigated this tangled web of past and present? David took a deep breath, trying to shake off the warmth of Emily's hand lingering on his arm. The crowded room felt suddenly stifling, filled with laughter that felt worlds away from the weight of their moment. Yet, he couldn't help but replay it in his mind, the glimmer of pride in her eyes, the flicker of disbelief at seeing him again. She was so different now, yet somehow still the same. Are you okay? Lily asked, her gentle voice edging into his thoughts. He turned to her, finding genuine concern etched on her face. Yeah, I'm good, David said, even though uncertainty knotted inside him. The conversation had sparked memories that danced between cherished moments and bitter regrets. He was trying to craft a new identity, but could he leave those memories behind? Let us go over those plans, he suggested, casting a glance back at Emily. She was now kneeling beside her daughter, who was tugging at her leggings, wanting attention. David felt a pang of envy, Mia's laughter weaving effortlessly through the air, as Emily's face lit up with maternal joy. As they walked away, David's mind buzzed with thoughts of ambition and purpose. What if he did take risks? How many others were like Emily, caught between ambition and the everyday challenges of life? The sisters' voices faded in and out, leaving him lost in a maze of questions that were far more significant than any business plans they discussed. He couldn't shake the feeling that he owed it to himself to dig deeper. He paused before the conference room doors, the murmur of his sister's discussion echoing behind him. "I'm going to step outside for a minute," he called over his shoulder, surprising himself. "Okay, but don't take too long." Lily replied with a teasing tone, but as he stepped into the hallway, David knew he needed this moment of clarity. Outside, the air was fresher, a cool breeze ruffling his shirt and clearing his mind. He leaned against the wall, looking out at the campus that was bursting with graduates and families, each person a thread in the fabric of life's journey. But then he remembered Emily's words. Not everyone carries the same weight. What did that mean for him? Could he really go back to his ambitions, his dreams, while knowing there were people like Emily grappling with their own battles? He pulled out his phone, staring at it as if it held the answers he was searching for. But for the first time, he felt the urge to do something more than just chase success. Maybe it was time to reconnect, to explore paths he had long ignored. His thoughts blurred into images of Emily. He recalled their long discussions about world-changing ideas. And now, here she was, navigating her own world. Could he meet her again, not just as an echo from the past, but as a partner in figuring out what comes next? "David." Lily's voice interrupted his reverie, pulling him from his thoughts. "What did I miss?" he asked, trying to smile, only to find the seriousness of his mind still lingering. "There's more to our plans than what's being said inside," she said, her voice dipping low. "I think something big is brewing. Are you in?" His heart raced. As he stepped back inside, he noticed Emily from across the room. She caught his eye and smiled, an effortless flash that tugged at something profound within him. "Yeah," he replied, a fervor igniting in him. "I'm in." But as David drawn closer to the sisters, the weight of the unknown loomed over him. What if deciding to move forward meant redefining everything he thought he wanted? The hum of potential filled the air as he thought of the journey before him, but a feeling twisted within. Was he ready to face his past while embracing whatever future awaited him? The moment lingered, and with it, the unanswered question floated in the air like a promise yet to be fulfilled. Could this encounter lead to the transformation he needed, or was it simply a reminder that the past could shape the future in unexpected ways? David stood at a threshold, once more engulfed by the cacophony of life surrounding him. But now his heart danced with a new rhythm, evolving from uncertainty into profound possibility. He looked around the cafe filled with laughter and vibrant conversations, memories of his former existence no longer holding weight against the growing warmth inside him. Emerging from the weight of that charged encounter with Emily, he felt something stir. The past had its shadows, but those shadows now illuminated the path he was meant to tread. His gaze swept back to Lily and Olivia, bubbling with an eagerness that inspired his soul anew. "So, what's next?" he asked, the confidence in his voice filling the air like a fresh breeze. Lily's eyes sparkled, her enthusiasm palpable. "We need to outline our action plan for the clinic. I want to make a real impact there." "Absolutely," David replied, feeling a surge of excitement. They dove into discussions about volunteering, outreach programs, and partnerships with local businesses. The possibilities erupted around them, fueling a passion he hadn't allowed himself to tap into in far too long. The exhilarating energy of shared dreams knit them together, vibrant threads of hope weaving through their conversation. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a magical golden glow around them, David felt as though he was shedding layers of himself. It was a moment of transformation, each word exchanged, a step closer to the man he wished to become. No longer just a number-crunching CEO, he was evolving into a person driven by purpose. Each plan they formed unfolded as a promise not only to Lily and Olivia but also to himself. Just then, the door swung open, and his heart lurched once more as Emily entered. She paused, caught in a mix of surprise and admiration as she surveyed the trio. "All of you look so focused," she said, the warmth in her smile lighting the room. "We're brainstorming big changes," David replied, motioning for her to join. "Come take a look." Lily chimed in, her confidence unwavering. "You should hear about our hopes for the clinic. We can make real impacts. And there, like threads weaving into a vibrant tapestry, David felt the past slip behind him. The air pulsed with potential, and Emily joined in, sharing insights and encouraging deeper connections among them. The spirit of collaboration took root, and together, they crafted plans that extended beyond that cafe, envisioning evening workshops, recruiting additional volunteers, and creating scholarship opportunities for medical students inspired by Lily's dreams. Each idea ignited energy, stoking the burgeoning flames of hope that flickered in each of their eyes. Hours turned into blissful moments filled with laughter and light. With each suggestion, every shared personal story, David found the healing balm of community he had once ignored. This was real life happening. Lives were changing right before him, reflecting his internal journey toward transformation. As the day turned to dusk, David felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over him. He turned toward the sisters, who were bent over a list of ideas, their fervor intoxicating. "Thank you for allowing me to be part of this," he said, his voice sincere and filled with emotion. "You both remind me of what truly matters." "It has always been there, David," Lily replied, her eyes glistening with conviction. "We just needed to help each other see it." From that day forward, David dedicated himself to their shared purpose. He navigated the boardroom with a renewed spirit, ensuring his company provided support for community programs and scholarships tied to their ambitions. With every successful venture, he poured resources into facilitating education, connecting people, and helping dreams come to life. Months later, during another graduation ceremony, this time with the thrum of purpose beneath it all, David stood proudly alongside Lily and Olivia, both poised and ready to embark on their own paths. As he watched them, it was clear the support they had built wasn't a figment of a fleeting moment, but a testament to their journey together. When Jake approached again, more cautious this time, David offered a smile. "This is what real success looks like," he declared, his voice steady. There was no need for the shadows of self-doubt anymore. The meaning of success had shifted. It was no longer about wealth or status but about connections and purpose, a realization that radiated from every soul in that room. With life erupting around him, David inhaled deeply, heart full, tears pooling lightly in his eyes. He was no longer just escaping the past, he had embraced it, transforming through it. The journey ahead was alive with possibility, and in that moment, the voice of his heart rang clearer than ever before: "The future starts now. Now is your moment." You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And don't wait not even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting your community. Let us build this together.